Welcome back to Elbow Off the Top. My name's Adam. Today we're going to be looking at my predictions for the 2021 Brownlow medal. I'm going to be going through every single team and who I think is going to be topping that list. But it's not just me, of course. I've got back my two Dans, my two mates, both Essendon supporters, both named Dan, and they're going to be putting their predictions in for the tops as well. And at the end of the video, I'll be revealing my top 5 along with my Dan's top 5 of who I think is going to actually end up on top of our medal tally at the end of this Brownlow night. It is exciting. We're so close. It's one of the best nights. It's a fantastic sit down, reflect on the season as a whole, just before the big one, the big grand final between the Demons and the Bulldogs, and we get to see it all over again in this Brownlow. Let's get going. First up with the Adelaide Crows. Now, Dan, 2 and I, we're syncing up on this one. We both think Tex Walker, Big Taylor Walker, is going to be topping the Crows list. A team like Adelaide are probably not going to have anyone, towards that top 15, top 20. However, Tex Walker had some big games, especially early on, kicking giant bags, and umpires do not ignore those sort of big bags. So I think he's going to get some maybe 3, couple of 2 votes early on. I think that's going to be enough to push him up on top of the Crows tally. Roy Lard has been picked by Dan 1. Which I'm pretty sure Roy Lard ended up winning the best and fairest, which is, I guess that's fair knock. However, generally I don't find the best and fairest syncing up too well with the Brownlow medal, just because coaches votes versus umpire votes are very often very mixed and very different. You sort of look at coaches' votes more for like what's doing for the team, whereas umpires looking for like that standout one of a kind player who's who's won the game off his own boot or off his own back or individual performances. So I find that they don't really sync up very much. So yeah, I'm going with Tex Walker for that one, and that's as much as I want to talk about Tex Walker ever again. Hopefully, I don't have to talk about him next season. Goodbye, Tex Walker. All right, for Brisbane, we are looking at... I am the odd one out in this 3, actually. Dan 1 and Dan 2, our Essendon supporter Dans, have gone with Jared Lyons, which I think he's favourite for the Brisbane to take out the Brisbane top. However, I reckon Dane Zorko has just been a more consistent player over the season. And I think with teams who win games, I find them that they're more likely to get those little 1-2 votes, and that sort of player is the one who ends up getting on top of the tally. So I've gone with Dane Zorko, and Dan 1, Dan 2 going with Jared Lyons. However, I think they're definitely going to be very, very close in the medal tally. Probably not cracking the top 10, I wouldn't imagine, but we'll see how that pans out. All right, off to the Carlton Blues, and it is without a doubt everyone's tipping this one. Not a single difference. There are a few guarantees where we've all think the same player, and Sam Walsh has had a sensational season. I think Sam Walsh is definitely going to end up top 10. That's my tip for that. His year has been just outstanding, especially for such a young player to take on that role. He's been by far the best Carlton player of the season. And on top of that, I think at one point he was probably the most informed player in the entire comp. So all 3 of us, Dan, and myself, have gone with Sam Walsh on that. Continue on with the Magpies. Collingwood Magpies. I am once again an outlier on this one. Both Dan 1 and Dan 2 have gone with Jordan De Goey. I get that. He had some game-winning performances. So, you probably knock up 2-3 votes in those games. However, Brodie Grundy you can't ignore Grundy. And I do love a big man. I want to see big men succeed at the Brownlow. Generally, the Brownlow is for like your little guys, your midfielders. So I really want to see, the ruckman do well, because I love a big man. I love the centre man. I've always wanted Grundy or Gawn or Nick Nat or someone like that to get themselves a Brownlow, because they are outstanding players, so important to their team. And I think Grundy is just, as far as consistency goes, he's going to pick up votes here and there. And I think that's going to, and in some games he'll be best on. However, I do see why they went with Jordan De Goey, because he did have some big flashy games, especially in that mid-early season when Collingwood wasn't really out of the race yet. But yeah, I'm going with Big Brodie and Jordan De Goey for the 2 Dans. Essendon. So as I mentioned, both Dans are both Essendon supporters, and they have got different opinions upon who is going to top Essendon's list. Now, I've gone with Darcy Parish. Darcy Parish has had an amazing season. Like, easily, not only is he best season of his entire career, but a season that most players would be jealous of. He's won countless number of trophies. He's been racking up 40 plus possessions, consistently across the season, which is absolutely incredible. In those games where Essendon had to come hard to try to hit those finals and, end up obviously pushing, just making it in towards the bottom of the 8, Darcy Parish was the one who was dragging them there with huge performances. However, my one thing about that is early on, he may have been overlooked because he wasn't, the name that we now consider him to be. Dan Two's gone Zach Merritt, I think, is also a good performer as well. If Darcy Parish is rocking up, 2 or 3, Zach Merritt's probably mopping up the other votes that, Parish didn't pick up. I still think, though, with the performances from Darcy Parish, especially with the run-on that Essendon had in the back half of the season, I think he's going to do incredibly well in this. So Dan 1 and myself have gone with Darcy Parish, and Dan 2 has gone with Zach Merritt. That's an exciting prospect to see who's going to top the Bombers list right there. Another one across the board, Fremantle Dockers. I think there's one and only one player who can possibly top that list this season. Nat Fyfe, obviously a former 2-time Brownlow medalist. Injury issues, was out for many games and all that sort of stuff. So, and just couldn't find the form of his previous 2 seasons. But David Mundy was by far the best Fremantle player. To think that David Mundy is the best player for Fremantle, considering he's, one of the oldest players in the team, probably the oldest player in the team, one of the oldest players in the comp, and still going as good as he actually is, is a legend. As they say, as it says right there on his card, legend star power. David Mundy is a freak of nature, and the fact that he's still playing as elite as he is a testament to him and how good of a footballer he actually is. All right, the Cats there is across the board again. Cameron Guthrie. Paddy Dangerfield tends to steal a couple of votes here and there. He's so flashy. He's so, he's one of those players you can take a game by the scruff of the neck. I just don't think he did it as much this season. I think Guthrie was by far the Cats' best player across the entire board of the season. They've now, I saw that the Cats have given him a 4-year deal. I think another 3 or 4 year deal, which takes him up to 33, 34 years old. So the Cats really like their older players, their old heads. And Cameron Guthrie is becoming one of the most consistent players in the AFL, in my opinion. And according to Dan to Dan, he's going to be topping Geelong's list as well. There's only one player who could possibly top this list for the Suns. Touk Miller has had a season and a half, even to the point where I considered putting Touk Miller in my top 5 at the end. I think I didn't end up putting him in. However, I did have him in, and then I think I pulled him out last moment. Touk Miller is just a phenomenal season, phenomenal football season from him. Individual performances, racking up possessions, trying to drag the Suns across the line, play some finals. He's stepped up huge this season. And his game points are only 67.9 on this season. I would anticipate his game points are going to go up huge on his team coach card next year. And across the board, Dan 1, Dan 2 all agree with me as well. Touk Miller. All right, we've got the Giants. Now, I did toss and turn between these ones. I actually was tossing up between Josh Kelly and Toby Green. Toby Green's obviously ineligible to win. That doesn't mean, we're not looking at that or anything like that. So Dan 2 has gone Toby Green, which I totally get. Here's a couple of games where will 100% end up getting 3 votes. However, Josh Kelly, for the consistency of that player, he's going to get those 1-2 votes that are just going to keep mopping up occasional, top vote games. So I think Josh Kelly is going to get there. Dan 1, agrees with me, and then Dan 2's gone with Toby Green. But I did, not going to lie, originally when I first did it, had Toby Green in the list. And then rethought about it about 5 minutes later and went, let's go with Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly. So I wouldn't be surprised if Toby Green gets on top of Josh Kelly for the Giants. All right, another one, the brown and gold Hawthorn. Not the greatest season, however. By far, the second season back from breaking his leg. He was a bit patchy last season, but he got back to his ball magnetness and Brownlow winning styles of Tom Mitchell. He obviously former Brownlow medalist, and he was back to his 30 plus, sometimes 40, I think, possession game. So I think across the board, there's no other one I could possibly think of. Maybe Jaeger O'Meara will steal a couple of votes from him every now and then, but I think Tom Mitchell most consistent, and he's a Brownlow winner. Therefore, umpires will often just give him votes because they can't think of anyone else. All right, now this was a very big surprise. Obviously, the Demons heading into the grand final in next weekend, which is very, very exciting. First time since 2000, and they haven't won since the 60s sometime. They've only won one premiership, so Demons fans get up and about. I have gone with, agreed with Dan One, and we've both gone with Clayton Oliver to pull up those votes. I think Clayton Oliver stepped up this year. He became elite. He's made that big next step up, and him playing at the peak of his abilities has got the Demons in for a real chance at the premiership. With that being said, if I was to draft tomorrow, I'd pick Christian Petrarca over the top of Clayton Oliver, hands down. I think Christian Petrarca is a game winner. Oliver is your workhorse. Christian Petrarca is your cream on top. Like he's your Dusty Martin. He's the one who just makes stuff happen. So I'm not surprised that Dan 2 went Christian Petrarca. However, with all the odds going around, Oliver's obviously sitting in as one of the favorites. So I think that he will poll better than Christian Petrarca. However, if he doesn't, I would not be surprised because the umpires love the showiness. They love that, the game winner, and Christian Petrarca often this season has been that game winner. So exciting times for the Demons, and exciting times for Demons fans coming into next week's grand final as well, of course. North Melbourne, Ben Cunnington. I went Ben Cunnington. Dan 1 went Ben Cunnington as well, and Dan 2 has gone Jack Ziebell. Me, Ben Cunnington, easily the best player for North Melbourne this season. I think, obviously, our wishes here at Elbow Top and everywhere else, our wishes are with him. Some really, really serious things. Health comes before the most important thing, is the most important thing, and comes before football, of course. However, I think Ben Cunnington, even with the games he missed in the late season, he will rack on a couple of votes here and there, even for the struggling North Melbourne Kangaroos, and I think he'll come out on top. Jack Ziebell is an interesting one. I think I was tossing up between Cunnington and Jai Simpkin, to tell you the truth. I didn't even think of Ziebell as far as vote getting, but hey, maybe Dan 2's right. Dan 2 in these sort of things, I don't know if you've noticed, remember from last season, Dan 2 is generally the wild horse right there. He normally goes a bit more risky than myself and Dan 1. Port Adelaide, no surprises here. We all think Ollie Wines is going to get there. A lot of people, he is one of the favourites. I think he is currently the favourite after the last game performance, where he will definitely be picking up 3 votes in the last game for Port of the season. I don't think it's a surprise that we've all gone with Ollie Wines. Superior, Travis Boak was a favourite last year. Ollie Wines is a favourite this year. Port Adelaide, I think all my pair fans out there, I think the less I say about that prelim, probably the better. I don't expect Port Adelaide to disappear off the face of the earth. I expect them to go back, reassess, accept what happened in that prelim, and start to move forward as a football club. But I think Ollie Wine's definitely going to poll well, and he'll be sitting in the top 5 at the end of the day. And looking at my Tigers, all 3 of us have, no surprise, gone Dustin Martin. I also even forgot to put Dustin Martin under Dan 2's name because he was late with his predictions, by the way. He was the last one to get in for me. Thank you, Dan 2. However, I was so close to possibly putting Shea Bolton. I think overall, Shea Bolton until the mid-season was the best player for the Richmond Football Club. I think he was by far our best player for the season. However, Dustin Martin guarantee gets yourself, I can think of at least 4 or 5 games where he's gets 3 votes. And 3 votes for 5 is 15 points. And in a season that like the Tigers ended up having, the back half, the mid and back half of the Richmond season, or let's face it, probably the whole season overall was a tough one for the Tigers. And I think something like 15, 16 votes is probably going to get him on top of the votes getting. Plus, Dustin Martin, he's a Brownlow vote magnet. I think he's one of the most voted. He's got the most I think he's one of the players with the most votes in the history of the Brownlow. Because umpires just love him. He's a game winner. When he wants to win a game, he very often will just do it on top of his own back. He's that good. Interesting, though, apparently he has lost 10 kilograms, which is pretty scary because obviously his kidney's injured, so he's been on like a smoothie diet and things like that. So he's lost 10 kilos. However, he'll be back. He'll get stronger. They'll look after him, and he'll be back in the hunt next season, I reckon. But Dusty Martin across the board for all 3 of us for the Tigers. Another all 3. I think there's only one real answer here, and that's Jack Steele. Some people said Brad Crouch may creep in. He started to get some good games under his belt at the end of the season when Saints weren't when the Saints were struggling. However, Jack Steele will pick up votes when even the Saints lose. Like that's even in massive Saints losses, Jack Steele was picking up 30 plus possessions and getting a goal or two. So I think 100% Jack Steele is going to be there. I don't think he's going to be picking up enough to win. I thought last season he was going to be, top 3, top 4. I can't remember where he finished, but Jack Steele, I think across the board from me, Dan 1 and Dan 2. Another one, the Swans, another easy one. I thought there was no one else who came to my mind when I thought of the Swans, but Luke Parker. He's had a phenomenal season, consistency, and that's the big thing for the Swans. How consistent they were. What happens with the Swans over the season was the young kids were firing, right? So those young kids are just going to steal votes here and there, and a different young kid fired for the Swans every week. So they're not going to keep getting those votes. Whereas Luke Parker was very, very good, and he's going to continue doing it. And I think Dan 1, Dan 2 agreed with me as well. The Weagles, West Coast Eagles, another one where we've all agreed. I'm actually very surprised we all agreed on this. I was tossing up between Kelly, Gaff, and even Nick Nat. However, Tim Kelly gets Brownlow votes. He gets Brownlow votes. He's a flashy player. He's noticeable on the ground. He does the things that umpires see. He's that good. He kicks you a big goal. The Weagles had a bit of a disappointing season, especially the back half. We all know this, but I think Tim Kelly gets himself some votes in the end there. And the last one is not surprising from any of us. We've all picked Marcus Bontempelli as the Bulldogs. Bont is probably at this moment the best player in the league. And I think that's, the Bulldogs' performance in the prelim, the Bulldogs' performance in finals just generally, the Bulldogs' performance for pretty much the season minus the last few rounds where they ended up dropping out of the top 4 for the first time. I think it's a good example why the Bonds is considered one of the best. He is one of the best players, and he's one of my favorite players to watch outside of the Richmond Football Club as well. Bont from all three of us, Dan 1, Dan 2, and myself. All right, let's get to our top 5. All right, this is our top 5 and what we think. Now, myself and Dan 1, we both agree Marcus Bontempelli is going to win his second Brownlow of his career, which is absolutely huge. Dan 2, however, coming in with Ollie Wines in front of Bontempelli. Now, my predictions was Bontempelli 1, Wines 2, Clayton Oliver 3, Darcy Parish, that's my outsider, is number 4, and Jack Macrae, number 5. I think Macrae and with Bonds, how good both their seasons were and how good the Bulldog season was, minus the last few games of the round, of course. I think, both those players can still rack up enough votes to get in the top 5. That's just my opinion. I'm not going to lie, I did originally have Tuke Miller in there instead of Darcy Parish. But I took Tuke out in favour of Parish instead. Dan 2 is going with Bontempelli, Oliver, Wines, which that seems to be a very safe sort of bet. This is what everyone's thinking. And then he's gone with Jack Steele and Sam Walsh. Sam Walsh is his sort of roughie out there, and the one difference between us. I like that. I like Sam Walsh as well. I think Sam Walsh racks up votes in games where even Carlton loses, and same with Steele. So I think that's where he's gone with those ones. Dan 2 is the only one who doesn't think Bonds is going to win. He's picking Ollie Wines, then Bontempelli number 2, Christian Petrarca at 3. He thinks, of course, Petrarca is going to outscore Oliver. He said that in the Melbourne one. Then Clayton Oliver at 4 and Jack Steele at 5. I do think Petrarca and Oliver are going to be a lot closer than I think you are, but I still think that Clayton Oliver, just with how he's stepped up this season, his elite ways, I think he's going to end up on top at the end of the out of Melbourne anyway. But that's our top 5. What do you reckon on who do you like the best out of those top 5? Me, Dan 1, or Dan 2? What do you think? And that is enough from me. I hope you guys really, really, really enjoyed Brownlow this evening. I think they're going to be having to do Zoom calls and all that sort of stuff once again. Well, I don't think the AFL uses Zoom, but you know what I mean, video calls. It's going to be a fun night. Let's see the best player. Hopefully the best player ends up on top. I think it's going to be Marcus Bontempelli. What do you think? Put in the comments of this video who you think is going to win the Brownlow this evening. If the Bonts, of course, wins the Brownlow, then he's going to have the chance to do the Dusty, which is very exciting, which is the Brownlow, the Norm Smith, and the Premiership. He'll have a chance to do the Dusty on the grand final the weekend after that. However, my gut feeling tells me the Demons might have something to say about that. But apart from all that, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you're staying safe, staying healthy, being amazing, and as always, I will see you in the next one.